Welcome back, artists. So, this is part two of our Aboriginal dot paintings. You each chose a favorite animal that was Australian. So, we picked crocodiles, or kangaroos, or koalas, snakes. We went through that whole thing in part one. Now, we're going to learn how to do the dot painting. So, earlier you watched the video and we noticed how slowly they painted the dots. So what we're going to do is make sure that we have our paint set up, we have our Q-tips, and we're ready to paint. So you're gonna have your painting done, and we just did the kangaroo, and it's dry now in part one. So I'm gonna set the koala aside and show you guys how to paint the dots for the kangaroo. You should have your paints that you learned how to take carefully out of their bottles. So we're gonna put the paints on this side over here. And you have a Q-tip for each color. So I have my painting ready to go and I have my paints ready to go. You'll have one Q-tip for each color. So you should have a paper or some type of liner down on your table or a paint board. I'm gonna set the Q-tips where the colors are, and I'm gonna make sure not to mix my colors up. So I have red and black and teal, yellow, white, and blue. I can mix any colors I want from this. So I've noticed I use warm colors in my kangaroo. So I might want to choose to do some cold colors. So I'm going to start with blue. When you use the Q-tip, you're going to hold it in the middle. You shouldn't have paint all over your fingers. The only reason I have paint on my fingers is because I was doing something messy by the sink today. So you're going to dip the Q-tip in just like we did for the paintbrushes, halfway on the Q-tip. So I'm going to take my blue and I'm going to dip it carefully in. And in the video you watched, you noticed how they carefully applied their sticks to the paper or the edges of their brushes. And you notice that it starts to get lighter because you're stamping. Once it gets too light, you'll have to go back in and stamp again. So you'll have to put some more paint on that brush. So I am carefully outlining, pressing down ever so lightly. And when it starts to lighten up again, I go for more blue. Now this is a time-consuming process. You will be like, oh my gosh, it's taking so long. But it's really gonna pay off because your artwork is going to look really great. So I'm going to continue with the blue around here. I'm going to carefully come in and outline around my animal. And I'm doing that until it gets light, and then take some more. If you can't fit more than one, then just scoot it over. And I'm doing it a little bit more. Now there's a cool technique you can do. If you push it down hard, you're gonna get a much fatter circle. But if you push it down ever so slightly, you can get the tiniest little dots, just like that. So it depends on how hard you press. So you can choose if you're doing it very soft and getting these tiny little dots, or if you press down harder and get some bigger dots. So I'm going to keep going around my kangaroo. Now we learned from Aboriginal dot painting that it is a long process, and it's really about focusing your attention on what you're doing to make it the best you possibly can. So now I've gone all the way around. Now I'm going to set that down by the blue, and I'm going to make a different color. So I choose to make green, and that's the secondary color. So we're going to have yellow, and I'm going to use a part of my palette that's not mixed. So I'm going to use a lot of yellow, and I'm going to take the blue from the side. So I take just a little bit of blue, and I start to mix. See how we don't even need a lot of blue to make a really nice green. So now I have green. So I can take the green, and we did it halfway on the Q-tip, and then I can start another pattern following that same pattern. So I'm following the lines and I'm dotting and I'm getting more paint and dotting. Now, the longer that you spend with your Q-tips, the more you're going to notice all these little hairs coming off of it, and that's okay. Just twirl your brush, twirl that little Q-tip in the paint to make it round again, and you might notice a different pattern. You might notice that the outside is a little more round or furry, and you can always get a new Q-tip because we want these to be really neat, and we have plenty of Q-tips. So I'm getting more and I'm going around. And I'm pushing down, and then I can make a couple that are teeny tiny. By just pressing lightly, and then I can go back to pushing hard and getting some nice circles. So I will continue to do this all the way around. I kind of like how it looks when it's light in the middle and stronger on the outside. It's darker on the outside. So I'm going to keep going. And there I've done 2 layers. So now you can see that some of them are very small and some of them are bigger. So you choose as you go around where you're going to put smaller ones and larger ones. I want to see a variation of shapes and sizes. So I want to see some that are tiny dots, and I want to see some that are larger dots. That way I know that you're capable of pressing light and pressing hard, and I know you're trying to change it up. So we've made orange as a secondary color. When we painted the kangaroo, we made green. So the only secondary color that we haven't made yet is purple. So I'm going to set that down by my green, and I'm going to make a purple. So the first thing we want to do is take the red, and I've got some red in here, and we want to take a little bit of blue, just like we did for the green, and we want to start mixing it in with the red. And you see how it doesn't take a lot of blue to make a nice purple. So add just a little bit at a time. So now I have a nice purple. And if you want to lighten it up, you can take the white from the side and add a little bit of white to it, and it makes it a little bit lighter as a tint, which we learned from another video. So I've got purple now, and I'm going to start another round with purple, but I'm not going to go around my kangaroo. I'm going to use some of the patterns from the Aboriginal handout that I gave you guys. So I might want to do a campsite for the symbol of the campers in Aboriginal lore. So I would start with a circle that I paint in with purple, and then I'll grab some more purple and start the dots around that. Because remember, we're telling a story. Maybe your kangaroo is hopping past a campsite of humans. So we have the kangaroo, and then we're showing where the humans are in this campsite. And I might stop with one line of purple, set that down, and I might get a teal color. I really like this teal color. And do some smaller dots around the edges. And I might do just a second layer of that. So then I have my little campsite right here. Now I'm going to go grab the sheet really quick and show you. campsites can be drawn different ways. There's campsite of a water hole, so that would be a drawn circular line. We have campsites that are drawn lines in here. We have meeting places. You can put snakes in, and people are shown with an arch or an upside down U. So if I wanted to put a person in here, then I would set my symbols aside and I would take a black. I might just take my black, and I might put a person right here by the campsite. So we can use our Q-tips to paint the symbols and the shapes. And maybe I want 2 people here. Maybe there's 2 people by the campsite. So I'm gonna draw 2 of these people symbols. And I'm going back and forth to show how I can get it darker. And maybe there's little kids too, so we can do like a little U here, maybe a little U, maybe it's a family. So maybe there's 3 kids here around a campsite. So we're starting to see how we can use our symbols to start telling a story. So I have a campsite and some people, and my kangaroo, and the patterns around. Now you're gonna fill up all of the space. So we wanna make sure that we are adding in symbols around the image and around our animal that would represent the story, that would show the story that we're trying to tell, okay? So that is how we do the dot painting, and now you're gonna go back to your seats and try it. Thanks, bye.